Good evening, moms of Conejo Valley. How are you all? I hope you all are having a great night. Maybe you're taking a break from the school board meeting for a minute. We are live tonight with local mom of three and family law attorney, Christina Shaffer. Christina, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Kinsey. I'm happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. And how is quarantine going for you? How is the distance learning at your house?
I think it's going fairly well, actually. It's been difficult. It's been a very difficult transition, but I think like everybody else, it kind of, puts things into perspective for myself, for my family, and our priorities. The safety and health and well-being of my family and I are number one. And so at this point, with family going well, we're all healthy, doing great. And so, yeah, it's going okay.
How old are your kids?
So I have 8-year-old twins, boy-girl twins, and I have a 10-year-old daughter as well. So a fifth grader and third grader twins.
So I always tell people this that have twins. Was it harder with twins because you had a single first, right?
Right.
And then you had a double. So if you had a single first, you knew how it was with one, and then you had two. And that's how I feel. Like if you have twins first, you don't know any better. You don't know how easy one is.
Right.
But then you get two and you're like, ooh, this is a lot, I feel. Is that how you felt?
Very interesting. So my firstborn, my daughter, was actually a very difficult pregnancy. High risk, just because I had lots of complications with her, and she was actually supposed to be a twin as well. So that created a lot of problems with her pregnancy. And she ended up being a very high, strong-willed baby and child as well. So when I found out I was pregnant with twins, it was a scary endeavor, but the pregnancy was amazing. No problems at all with the pregnancy and the delivery, and the sweetest twins, not as strong-willed, at least in the beginning.
Well, I mean, you've made it this far. You've made it to third and fifth grade. So
exactly, you know what? We're all alive. We're doing well.
I think you've done it. And as you know, I am a food lover. I absolutely love food in the Conejo Valley. So I always ask anyone that I chat with, what is your favorite takeout, I guess, right now, takeout in Conejo Valley? What would you choose?
So my all-time favorite, I would say, restaurant in the Conejo Valley, more so going before COVID, was Country Harvest. We'd go there. Definitely my dad and I would go there every Sunday, and we would randomly choose one of my three kids to go. So it was me, Grandpa, and Carter time, or Chloe time, or Caitlin time. So definitely Country Harvest. Got to give a big shout out to Country Harvest, and for breakfast, and still for takeout. Definitely, we still get Country Harvest for breakfast, Parma for pizza, dinner, and just found out Spumoni. I don't know if you've tried that in Newbury Park. Amazing gnocchi, just like you've never had before. Really, really good food.
I don't know what it is about Spumoni. Their chicken piccata, the vegetables that come with it. I don't know what kind of madness they do to those vegetables, but it is my favorite. Spumoni is definitely one of my favorites. They have some good food there, and I feel like it's a hidden gem.
It is.
It's there, but it's delicious.
I wasn't aware of them. I was aware of the restaurant, but it wasn't until COVID and trying out different restaurants. Another one is Stone Grill in Westlake. They have a great takeout for like a family feast menu. It's been really good too.
They have some herb butter there that they put on top of their steaks, the gorgonzola butter. Oh, I love food. I could talk about food all day long, but going on from there, so you are a family law attorney in Conejo Valley, Ventura County. It's probably looked a little bit different during COVID, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What trends are you seeing right now?
So right now, I've seen a lot of trends, but I'm definitely there's an uptick, unfortunately, in domestic violence cases, more so than ever. There's also an uptick in just custody issues altogether. I'm seeing a lot of clients that I haven't seen in a few years trying to modify custody at this point as a result of COVID, and there's usually one parent that is not being completely careful or responsible under the pending circumstances, which gives a lot of rise to anxiety and fear in the other parent. So yeah, domestic violence is definitely up, and then so for child custody issues. And then lastly, support modifications, because people are losing their jobs or unable to work. And so they're looking for either a reduction in support or an increase in support obligation from the other parent. So I would say those are definitely the three things, other than your everyday phone call. I'm tired of my husband. I'm tired of my wife, and I want to
Right.
I can't live with him anymore, and give me a divorce. There's definitely an influx of those calls as well.
Yeah, I guess I didn't. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like going through my head about, I see a lot of posts about, oh, well, my son, and I even know actually someone that it happened to me, that they have a custody agreement. Mom lives in Florida, and he's supposed to go out there for 6 weeks. Mom wasn't testing. She refused to test. And dad's got to, send his kid on a plane to Florida with mom, who doesn't test, and they don't social distance. And he's like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. She's saying I have to send him. And those situations, especially right now, are so difficult and heartbreaking, especially if you're scared for your child, they're high risk or whatever it may be. So what does someone do, I guess, in a situation like that, when it first happens, where you're like, okay, I'm going to have to send my kid here. What actions can I take to modify this? What would they do?
So right now, the courts are really hearing cases by Zoom. So there's not a lot of in-person hearings unless there's a predetermined trial. Right now, I would tell people to definitely follow the court order. Whatever the court order says, number one, you've got to follow that. You don't want to be in the offensive where you're defending yourself or making these decisions which are right, which are the best interest of the children. You have to follow the order. And if you need to modify the order, you need to file a motion with the court.
How long in advance do people need to think about that? What is, I guess, the time frame, especially right now, especially for the conditions we're in? These are, if anybody's watching and this is something that's coming up, how far in advance do you need to start the process?
So fortunately, right now, a lot of the orders that are being crafted by the court have a lot of boilerplate language regarding COVID. The cases that we're concerned about are the cases where we have orders that don't incorporate language pertaining to COVID. And those are the cases that are really coming into to my office and into the court. So if there's a true emergency, what I mean by emergency is there's irreparable harm to the minor child or minor children, then you could file what's called an ex parte emergency hearing. And that gives you 24 hours basically to get in before the court. And so in those situations, the court can make immediate orders. There has to be, like I said, irreparable harm. It can't be, I think that this person is, not being careful, or I think that
you have to have proof, basically.
Yeah, you've got to be able to provide proof of irreparable harm to the minor child or children, which is very, very difficult. And so, these ex partes, I've always been one that really follows the rules of court and says, there's got to be irreparable harm, and there's got to be exigent circumstances before you file that ex parte. You do see a lot of people taking up the court's time and trying to file these ex partes when there's not irreparable harm or not exigent circumstances. In this day and age, when you're taking the court's time, when there's not irreparable harm or not emergent circumstances, you're subject to sanctions. You're subject to possibly a modification of custody if you're trying to take the situation for granted or trying to take advantage of the situation. So it's really important to probably talk to a family law attorney to determine what your rights are, and do you have grounds to file an ex parte, or is this a case where we can file a motion and have it heard sooner than later? The courts right now we're also trying to do like a triage of cases, trying to resolve some of these cases. Previously, when you file a motion regarding custody visitation, you'd have to go to mediation first, and mediation, they're just inundated with cases. So mediation is at the courthouse by either LCSW or MFT, appointed by the court to meet with the parties. And it would take about 3 months or so to actually get into mediation before you even talk to the judge. And now what I'm seeing is the cases, if I file a motion regarding custody visitation, I'm actually going to get a court date in the next 30 days, followed by a mediation 2 or 3 months thereafter. So at least that within 30 days prior to talking to the mediator, we could possibly get some kind of orders in place. Again, with the current COVID language, it could resolve some of those issues instead of waiting 3 months to actually get a mediation date.
So if people do have something coming up, let's say in the next 3 months, if you've got something coming up in your custody in the next 3 months, we have Easter coming up, we have spring break coming up. So if you've got something in your next 3 months, you should probably be talking to someone to make sure that you're covered, to make sure that just in case numbers skyrocket or whatever they are like they are now, that you're not forced to send your child on an airplane or to a different state or somewhere that, might put them at more risk.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you know that your ex-husband is wanting to go to a wedding in the next few months with a minor child, and with the numbers they are right now, probably not a good idea. Then you want to go ahead and resolve that now. And like I said, presumably talk to a family law attorney and try to resolve it amicably, try to resolve it out of court. One thing I might suggest is getting a private mediator, a family law mediator, meaning an attorney that acts as a mediator, and that could expedite the process and get somebody on board that is familiar with the family law courts and can tell the parties, hey, look, I've done this a million times, and I can tell you right now, this is the way the court's going to order it. So, let's save the time, the money, and the heart and resolve it this way. So definitely something.
Just a reminder to anybody who's watching, we might have a few minutes after for questions. So be sure that if you have any questions that you leave them in the comments, and we hopefully will have time. Now getting away from, childcare or child custody and all of that, for the moms that are in the process of wanting to get a divorce or starting that process, how do you start that process during the time of COVID?
So right now, because the courts are somewhat closed.
Somewhat, as your business cell phone rings.
Yeah. So right now, we just started doing Zoom this month. So this is interesting. Like back in December, I had a court hearing, and I didn't know it was going to be my last court appearance for a long time.
Right.
So, but right now, when somebody wants to file for divorce, it's the same process. But before, I would have like an attorney service pick up the paperwork from my office, drive it to the courthouse, file it, stamp it, bring it back, have the other party served. Now we're doing everything electronically, which is nice because LA County, I think, has been doing things electronically for many years. Ventura County, however, has been still doing the paper pushing, and it's taken a long time. And this COVID pandemic has pushed us into gear and to now be more electronically savvy. So now if you wanted to file for a divorce, you could do it all online. You can what's called e-filing your petition for dissolution of marriage. The filing fee is $435. You can pay it online. You can file your paperwork online. They'll send it back to you through the portal. And then, of course, you would take the next step of having your spouse served. Same thing when you're requesting, support orders, custody orders. You can do that all online. You could file the paperwork online, upload it to the portal, get it back, and then, personally serve the other party.
All righty. So it's just a little bit easier. Maybe COVID made one thing easier.
Yeah.
The positive that we take out of this is that, hey, it finally pushed Ventura County into that electronic stage.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little more efficient at some point. Right now, they're inundated with these filings. So for example, I think I filed for a divorce this morning, and I may not get the paperwork back for a week or so, and whereas before, I'd be able to hire somebody in an expedited fashion and say, I want this filed right now, and I want it served as soon as you file it. Well, I don't have that luxury anymore. I imagine, hopefully, they're going to allow some kind of expedited filing. Right now, only option I'm having is just to upload the paperwork and hope to get it back within a week or so, and then I can go ahead and serve the other party. But yeah, they're just inundated with all my filings. It's taken a few days or so to even get just simple paperwork back from the court.
Mm-hmm. All righty. So are you finding that that it is taking longer for the process just because of COVID? And so if you're looking to get a divorce, it's probably not happening tomorrow,
Yeah.
or what it was before, but it is taking longer just because of COVID.
Yes. But at the same time, when we're doing Zoom sessions, what I find are to be more efficient now. So we're in court and, bingo bango, we're done with our hearing, as opposed to going in there and waiting for, every other case to be heard. It's just a little more efficient now. I think that we're going to be, we can get through more cases. But I think the court will find out we can get through more cases through Zoom. So it's nice.
All right. Well, we have a few comments or questions in the comments. So let's bring the first one up. The first one is, what are your thoughts of kids participating in Zoom mediation at one parent's home? Not really neutral ground.
That really good question. And that is a significant concern that the court has right now. And we are, we've been given some protocols to provide to our clients. And one of them indicates that, hey, you know what? If the child is in your home during a Zoom call, the child needs to be outside. You need to do a quick scanning of the room, make sure the child's not present. Number one. Number two is, in some cases, in most cases, the mediator wants to talk to the children that are 6 and over privately. So in a normal situation, they would talk to the child privately in a room at the courthouse with neither parents or attorneys or anybody else present, in a very comfortable, child-appropriate setting. So now you can imagine, this minor child is supposed to be alone without mom or dad glaring at him or her, or throwing up a trinket, you want to stay with me, or, put up signs, or in the background. We're only hoping that that's not what the parents are doing. But I think that hopefully we have some very skilled mediators, fortunately, that can kind of pick up on cues where a child is being, maybe manipulated to what to say or coached and those things. So, it's unfortunate. I don't know what the answer is. It's a tough time because I do see probably going to have some concerns with these children being coached or manipulated, or just the fact that they're at mom's house.
Yeah.
They're comfortable.
It changes their environment. So they're not comfortable.
The environment's going to impact what they're saying to the mediator, which is definitely.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they take that into consideration. Our next one is, at what age can kids decide which parent they'd like to live with if they prefer one over the other? So I guess this would be for someone who's maybe getting a divorce or has an older kid that maybe wants to choose, I want to live with mom or dad. What age is that? That's
a really good question. So there's not really a specific age. People would say 12 and over. I think that the legislature right now says when a child is of an age and discretion to articulate himself in a reasonable fashion, then he shall be given significant weight or due weight to where he or she wants to go. But it kind of depends. I've had cases where, for example, I had a case where I represented mom. She was primary caretaker and wasn't doing a very good job. She had a 16-year-old son that was in a gang and was arrested multiple times and wanted to stay with mom. Dad was a military dad. Dad wanted to, provide structure and discipline for this child who was in gangs in California. Dad lived in Texas, didn't have a whole lot of custodial time. And mom actually had custody taken away from her, despite the fact that the 16-year-old wanted to stay with mom. So it depends on why, the 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old wants to stay with mom or dad. They're not going to support Disneyland dad. They're going to look for the best interest of the minor child.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, that's good to know that they're not just gonna, especially in cases like that where it's like maybe it's a little bit better for the kid to, get away for a little while. So,
absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you so much for all the information. I know that it will be, used, and we'll play it again. So if you missed it or you missed the beginning, you'll be able to watch it again. My kitten King Freckleboo here has decided to join us. I've been in quite a few Zooms this week, and he quite likes my chair. I found out, my office chair. So he's hitting me a little bit. But I did tag your Facebook page in the comment section. So anybody that has any questions, they can click there. They can get your information there. And I believe set up a consultation with you probably through Zoom during this time. Yeah. But again, thank you so much for your time, Moms of Conejo Valley. Please feel free to back up and watch again after it posts. And we will see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kenzie, and all that you do.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.